One Bitcoin went over $1,240, went over the price of gold. So, but the Bitcoin as a money transfer mechanism, somebody sent $150 million last week in Bitcoin. Their total cost was 39 cents.
Was that the CIA?
It's unknown who sent that money.
How do we know that was sent?
Total cost was because it's all in the public ledger. It's all in the blockchain.
So you can see
it's all happening.
And what? Then we had
now the bank doing that same transaction.
Agreed to drop all of its nuclear programs this week. Is there something connected here?
The stranger things have happened.
The cheapest.
What? Iran and the CIA?
What's a good way of?
Never happened.
Well, if you want to get into that kind of comparative game, let's talk about HSBC. It's an $8 billion money laundering operation for Mexican drug lords that they've been directly responsible for 60,000 decapitations in the last few years. So who's a terrorist, buddy? Who's a terrorist?
Hey, I'm not on the CIA.
Who's a terrorist? Who's the terrorist here?
Be careful,
Max.
Max. I'll jump all over you.
So 39 cents to send $150 million. Now, the cheapest any bank can offer that service of all the money center banks is $200,000. So, how are you going to compete with that? You can't. So they're going to have to radically reform or go away.
And what's your call on this latest price increase by Bitcoin? Does it help things? Does it help the market?
Yeah, it does, because it gets people talking about it, it gets the media talking about it, gets adoption rates higher. Clearly it's volatile, but as the use of Bitcoin is exploding in China, it's hitting in India, and the remittance business is huge.
So how valuable does the total population of Bitcoin have to be before it's a proper currency? Or a tradable currency in a stable...
My guru on Bitcoin is a guy named Rick Folkvinia.
He was here 2 days ago, sitting there.
He started the Swedish Pirate Party.
Yeah.
And he's the Time magazine's 100 smartest guys in the world are in the running or something.
And he says between $2 and $5 million a Bitcoin is where it's stable.
Yeah, somebody said to me yesterday it had to be at least 100,000 per Bitcoin to get to a certain liquidity level.
Yeah, if it captures 1% of the Forex market, which it can do, that's $100,000 per Bitcoin. Yeah. But that's the Satoshi, which is the 1/100,000th of a Bitcoin. Then you'd be trading in these Satoshis, and you wouldn't be trading this, in Bitcoin itself. But
so the number of outstanding Bitcoins, which is at around 10 million, going to 21 million, that doesn't even matter, does it? Since they're infinitely divided.
But how long will it take to get to 21?
It's like another 100 years.
Is it? Yeah. But that doesn't even matter, the number, because if you can divide it to whatever, it doesn't really matter how much.
That's right.
How many
it's divisible to quadrillions.
So I was completely lost in this until somebody talked to me and said, actually, don't think of it as a currency, think of it as a commodity. And think of it like gold.
Yeah, I think
that's... And it's a tradable commodity and a very highly liquid commodity.
Yeah, I think that's true.
But it's like there's a physical mass, and the word mining is not there for just a reason, but it's like we have an asset, and what you're having is basic economics, which is supply and demand. There's an increasing amount of demand for a liquid asset, and there's a finite amount of supply. So it's only going to do one thing. The question tends to be, at what point does it flatten out?
Yeah, that's right. So there's a big guessing game, and a lot of different folks have different opinions on that. But I agree with you. You think of it more as a commodity. I think of it, I call it, like when I was on ITV this week, they said, what is a Bitcoin? So for the ITV audience, I said, well, it's a precious number.
Yeah.
You know what a precious stone is and a precious metal. This is a precious number. There's very few of them, and they're highly sought after. Yeah. And you take it from there.
There's a Warren Buffett quote I read these days, and he said, gold is something that we pay people to dig out of the ground so we can then take it and put it in a hole and pay people to guard it for us. That's how he described it as a commodity.
But there is actually a cost of mining Bitcoins.
There is.
There is.
Absolutely.
So it's not that dissimilar.
Yeah, but gold is outperforming Berkshire Hathaway by a huge factor for the last 10 years, 15 years, up until the last 2 years. So as an investment, gold's been outperforming his vehicle, Berkshire Hathaway. I'd rather be in gold, compounding at 22%, 23%, up until recently anyway. So, as an investment vehicle, it's been outperforming Berkshire Hathaway. So I'm not sure, if I'm looking for outright rates of return, silver also, the number one return has been silver over Berkshire Hathaway. So he's just blowing smoke up everyone's ass.
That's why you're here, Max, to tell us these things. Thank you. Max, I hope you don't retire with all of your Bitcoin wealth.
It's a daily struggle.
I hope you stay around. Rick was here, the Pirate Party guy, and he said that he predicts a future where the new wealthy oligarchs will be all of these tech geeks that got in on Bitcoin on the ground up. Yeah. And instead of seeing like all these, Russian money and Chinese money, you'll see all this geek money, and they'll be going around like living large, and they'll be running shit. And we'll be like, God damn it. It's this whole paradigm that we didn't think it existed.
It all depends.
And Max will be up there too.
Well, we were the first media outlet to cover it.
Which is
3
what,
years
5
ago.
years or 3
3
years
years ago.
And you've owned them for longer than
Yeah,
that,
we've
right?
been covering it. I've owned them, but many people in this space, one of the early adopters. I mean, if you put $30,000 into this 3.5 years ago, it's worth $100 million. For $30,000. So I mean, a lot of these people.
But why would you have put $30,000 into this 3
Well,
years
because
ago?
because people who got it right
Yeah.
away. Like I went with Rick to this conference in Prague, 3 years ago, and just the people in the room were complete converts to this idea,
Yeah.
and they were accumulating these things. And once you understand what it is and how it works, it's really a shift in how you think, and people accumulate them. So a lot of people have $100 million, not a lot, but $100 million, $10 million from virtually nothing. That's a pretty common occurrence at this point. And of course, every single day, you see millionaires just popping out like bubbles out of a champagne bottle.
That's scary. Do you feel vindicated in some way, Max?
Of course, I feel vindicated. I'd like to take
In 2 weeks' time,
yeah.
you'll be a billionaire.
Exactly. So there will be a Bitcoin billionaire pretty soon. I mean, the Silk Road guy, his
The Dread Pirate Roberts?
Yeah, his stash.
The guy accused of being the Dread Pirate.
The alleged guy.
Yeah.
Even the ones that the FBI can't hack, they're worth $500 million.
$500 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Max made a good point, is that all the Bitcoins they seized from the Dread Pirate Roberts, if that is him, they can't touch.
That's right. Can't hack it.
They can't hack it. So it's still out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not. I think it's not a coincidence. In the last couple of years, you've seen encryption play a big role politically with Edward Snowden.
Is that kind of like, do you know when ships like sink in the middle of the ocean, and you create this bounty that you can go after? Is there an equivalent of actually going and finding those bitcoins? Is there bounty hunters for bitcoins?
Well, the fact that it's
Or is it
it's
just
impregnable.
impossible? Yeah.
It's done. Like the guy, he
Or does
threw
it
away a
just
laptop.
does it become a wasted asset?
You saw it's dead. There's a lot of bitcoins that are just been lost and will never be retrieved.
I think it's like a ship analogy, except there's so much ocean. Like
You just will never find it.
unfindable.
Yeah.
Like the guy who we just learned this past week, he had bitcoins on an old laptop that he threw into a landfill.
Yeah.
They're worth $5 million now. Now that landfill, those bitcoins, I think, are safe to say, are gone.
Yeah.
They're gone.
That's a fair point. So actually, in fairness, the 10 million bitcoins actually aren't 10 million.
That's right. It's less than the number because they're gone.
They've been demined.
The actual
put back in the ground.
Yeah, the actual float is probably a lot smaller.
Okay, and where's Bitcoin going next? Is it going to be stable here, drop again?
No, I don't think it'll achieve any kind of stability for a while at a much higher price.
Okay, but still going up.
Yeah, a lot of volatility. I mean, what's interesting, I guess in the last couple of weeks, you've seen the emergence of these alternatives to Bitcoin, like Litecoin. Yeah. And there's like 50 or 60 other alternative currencies. And a lot of people are now trading in between the currencies. And I think that's very healthy. It's good competition. And it just forces more adoption. And I think it's very positive for Bitcoin.
Okay.
And I think the Chinese are now fanatically getting into Bitcoin. India has yet to really embrace it. That's going to be a big move for Bitcoin. The hedge funds are now buying it as an asset class because there's a way to do so with the Bitcoin Investment Trust in New York over their second market, the Barry, the guy's second market.
Yeah. Not the Winklevoss guys. It's a different guy.
That's right. They're big into it. They believe the market cap can get to 400 billion.
Okay.
From the current market cap at 12 to 13 billion.
Now, okay.
That's obviously a big move.
Yeah. There you go.
Of course, when you're an entrepreneur, you want to retain as much as possible, and you want the highest price because it makes you feel good. But if you take money from an angel or crowdsourcing platform, or for us at the wrong price, and you don't get to the next milestone, haven't created value, and you need to raise more money, going back to my Gutenberg story, then there's going to be pain, and the investors are going to be sorry, you're going to be sorry. So I would say this, wouldn't I? But pricing your company right, getting the right level of dilution is right, making sure you raise enough to get to where you want.